Thanks, good evening, everyone. My name is Yemi, and been around here for a while now, about 2 years, I think. We've been coming to Sunbridge. This evening, I'll be speaking about friendship, but I would like to start by sharing how I've been blessed by having good friends in my life. I lost my dad about 19 years ago, and he was the breadwinner of our family. So when my dad died, we had financial struggles, myself and my 3 other siblings. And what that did to me was I found it really challenging to share my things with people. And my excuse was that I didn't have much. And gradually things got better. But what did not improve about my life was giving, was sharing things. I got saved, I started going to church, and we were encouraged to give. And I think I got better in a way, but that wasn't still what I wanted. I would give because I was expecting more. And so I wasn't really giving sacrificially. I really didn't learn how to give. So when I got to the uni, I met some friends who were in somewhat similar circumstances as I was, but they were guys who gave freely. These were guys who had, sometimes they don't know where the next meal would come from, and they would gladly share all they had with everyone. And so I found it really challenging and to be around these kind of guys. And gradually, I started learning from them. And I'm really glad forever that God used those friends to change my perspective, to change my character as touching giving. And so we're continuing our series in the book of Proverbs today, and as we talk about friendship. And I would like to start by talking about what who a friend is. We'll partially be focusing on a good friend, not the unreliable friend or bad friend. There are different kinds of friends, but we'll be focusing a bit more on a good friendship. And so, the first point is a friend is someone with great influence on us. And Proverbs, I'm just going to read Proverbs 13, verse 20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. And as humans, we are product of influence, whether it's a deliberate influence or an indeliberate influence. Whether we support Bradford City, or we support Leeds City, or we support Chelsea, whatever team, someone or something must have influenced that. And that happens to us every day, the decisions we make, the choices we make. And so we are not particularly independent. We're not particularly on our own. We are influenced by people. We are influenced by circumstances. And so a friend is someone who has great influence on us. A friend is someone who, by their actions, by their words, they influence us greatly. And I'm just going to move to the next slide. I think I'm controlling my slide myself here. All right, yeah. In Proverbs 18, verse 24, just the first bit of Proverbs, and one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin. And so this points out the danger that the influence of an unreliable friend can have on us. And so because we are a product of influence, we can be influenced very quickly by the actions of our friends. And if this is the case, if we can be greatly influenced by the kind of friends we have, and that means that we need to be very careful with the kind of friends we have. And Proverbs points out to the fact that friends are people we choose. And I've learned that the choice of friendship are as important as the choice of a spouse. They are that important. And so, if friends can influence us greatly, and we have the power, Proverbs says that friends are people we choose. And oftentimes we allow circumstances, we allow things to just define friends or happenstance. We allow wherever we are to just dictate the kind of friends or the kind of people that we meet. But I think as Christians, we cannot leave everything that happens to us to chance because we can pray. And so as Christians, as believers, we can influence the kind of friends that we have. I remember in my second year at the uni, I just joined the church and I went through what we usually call the membership class, which is similar to what is recently started in Sunbridge Road Mission about joining the church family. So it's kind of a similar thing. And so after the church membership process where they explain the doctrines of the church and some of the reasons why the church does some of the things they do, the person that led the program for us just approached me and she asked an interesting question. She asked if I wanted to get married. And I was just in my second year and the thought of marriage never crossed my mind. Not that she wanted to marry me, but she just asked that question. And I said, well, maybe someday. And she said, have I thought about praying for the kind of person I'm going to get married to? And I said, no, I've never really prayed about it. And she said, maybe I should give it a thought and pray about it. And that statement really changed my life. In the sense that prior to that conversation, I had some expectations. I had some of the things I wanted, if I was ever going to get married. Apparently, those things were not wrong, but those things were not the things that God wanted for my life. And by having that conversation with that sister in church, and I started praying about it, God started changing some of this mindset that I held. And as I kept praying, I realized that God was changing me. And that change really affected the kind of friends that I made. And that led even up to the kind of, wife that I eventually got married to. And so I said that to share with us that friends are people we choose, but we shouldn't just leave that to circumstances. Like Ian shared a few minutes ago, that there are deliberate friends we make because we want to impact them with the gospel. And I think that God can lead us in some of these things. And so one of the things I want to encourage us, to do is to really take our choices of friend in prayer, to take it to God in prayer. And we've been really blessed by one of the books that my wife got from the young mothers club. I don't know if that's a club or the young mothers meeting. And so she's been attending the meeting, and I think Alison Osley gave them, I think I just got one step ahead. I just got one. Sorry. So yeah, Alison Osley gave my wife this book, and we've been praying with this book for my son, Maurice. And just last week, we started praying about the kind of friends it would make. And I found it really encouraging to see that from a young age, we can actually invest in some of the circumstances that would happen to our children, as we pray. And so friends are people that we choose. The next thing, excuse me. All right, yeah. So in friendship, there is commitment. In Proverbs 17, verse 17, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. While I was preparing for this time, I read the story of David and Jonathan again, and the kind of commitment that their friendship had. In fact, they had like a covenant between them, what we could call like a contract. While we do not have to, we don't have to sign a contract with friends, but a committed friendship produces so much fruit. In commitment, we build trust. In commitment, we build openness. And so, in the case of David and Jonathan, they were both, they were both vulnerable to one another. David needed help, and Jonathan was always there for David. Time would not permit to go into that, but that was a good example. Also, God really challenged me so much about commitment while I was preparing for this. that friendship is actually an active relationship. And sometimes, particularly for me, I've had very good friends that have blessed me and friends who have really helped me at different stages of my life. But I found that as we move to different phases of life, the friendship kind of wane. And I was really challenged because feels like we're no longer putting active energy into the friendship. And for some of us, it could be that we probably need to be more open to people to make new friends. Now, there are people who are really good at having friends over the years, but sometimes God is leading us to, be open to people around us, to have to make new friends with the aim of investing in them and making people better. I mean, I've been really blessed by people in this church who invited me over for coffee, and I've realized that they're trying to use their initiative to start friendship. And I've been challenged because I've realized that I haven't been reciprocating their energy. So friendship requires commitment. And that in commitment sometimes it requires that we take initiatives to meet new people. We take initiative to go back to some of our friends who, by virtue of the things that have happened to us in life, things have gone cold between us. Nurturing friendship, as it is with everything that God has made, they require maintenance, they require responsibilities from us. It requires things that we need to do to keep them going. If we have kids, there are things we need to do to keep the child growing. Even in our relationship with God, that's things that God expects of us that to keep the relationship healthy. Even though most of those, God pours into us and God expects us to spend time with Him. God expects things from us so that we keep the relationship healthy. The same thing applies to to friendship. In friendship, we've got a few things that I've highlighted here that we need to do, and one of them is our truth. And I believe a friend is someone who is able to tell us the truth, regardless of how difficult it is. The truth is not something we usually want to hear. Sometimes we just want to be happy, and sometimes the truth doesn't make us happy. And in Proverbs chapter 27, verse 6, says, wounds from a friend. Oh, pardon me, I think my slide's gone. Can you just go back to the slide? Yeah. Proverbs 27, verse 6 says, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. And this points out to the fact that we need to have friends who are able to tell us the truth. And if we have friends as well, sometimes the challenge is we try not to break the friendship. And I've had friends who saw obvious truths, who saw things that they needed to say to me, but they were afraid of saying it. Not because of anything, but they were more concerned about preserving the relationship that we share. And the Bible encourages us that one of the things that is required for healthy relationship, one of the ways we can really be a blessing in the friendship that we are in, is to be able to tell the truth to our friends. Sometimes it could cause arguments. Sometimes it could, it could affect the relationship in a way. But at the end of the day, would make them a better person. And I'm just going to move to the next slide. Yeah, so whoever rebukes a person will in the end gain favor rather than one who has a flattering tongue. That's Proverbs 28, verse 23. Also lending credence to the fact that in friendship, sometimes we have to just be able to say the truth. And I think the other bit I missed that is forgiveness. Forgiveness. I'm just going to, Sometimes I believe friends are people who don't offend us all the time. Sometimes like our siblings do. And because of that, we don't have we don't make provisions for times when friends hurt us. And when it happens, we find it sometimes difficult to let go. But the Bible encourages us that we should forgive. I'm just going to jump. I think I missed the slides. Please pardon me. I'm not used to using slides to teach. In Proverbs 17 verse 6, whoever would foster love covers over an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. And the Bible encourages us that we should make provision for human frailties. We should make provision for human weaknesses, especially when it comes to friendship. I've had one of my childhood friends that we broke apart, and that was because there was a very little issue, but because we were very close, a very childhood friend that has blessed my life and has been a great blessing to me. And things would go on very well over the years, and then we didn't build resistance for times when things don't go well. And then there was a time we had a little challenge, and we could not come to terms again. Even though we tried to reconcile, but things didn't get back the way they used to be. But the Bible encourages us that we should proactively make provision for times like that, because there will be times when our friends would offend us. There will be times when our friends will do things that we do not like. Now, what about friendship with the world? In James chapter 4, verse 4, the Bible says that friendship with the world is enmity with God. And the Bible is replete with references about making friendship with the world. But it's important for us to point out that God is not against us having friends with people of other religion, friends that are not saved. And like Ian mentioned, sometimes we have friends who are not Christians. Sometimes we have friends who are not saved. But that's an opportunity for us to model Christ to them. That's an opportunity for us to be an ambassador of Christ. Just going to roll forward. Yeah. So before the discussion, just going to emphasize again the fact that, sometimes we can have friends who are not saved. Sometimes we can have friends who are not Christians. Sometimes we can have friends, even Christians, who share different beliefs, different opinions and doctrines. But the end goal is for us to model Christ to them. And I'm just going to jump back to slide. In Proverbs 18, verse 24, I'm just going to read from the slides. And one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother, and that's Jesus Christ. And so when we move close to friends, when we are even in our friendship, even in the church or people outside the church, the end goal is that we are modeling Christ to our friends. I'm just going to close by reading John chapter 15, verse 13 to 15. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from you, from my Father, I have made known to you. And so Jesus is the best friend. Jesus is the best friend. And I think that if we have a very good friend and we have another friend, we would be quick to want to show our other friend the best friend. And so Jesus is the best friend, and our end goal is to model him to other friends around us. Just have a few discussions around our tables. Just think I've got 2 questions. Just within our tables, what practical ways can we invest in our friendship? And the second question, some threats to friendship include gossip, flattery, and thoughtlessness. How can we avoid them? And what other things could endanger friendship? So let's just turn to people on our tables and have this discussion in the next 10 to 15 minutes.